As for 2 seasons, no one in the AFC has managed to check the Chiefs. That stops now. The team's focused on turning KC from threat to threaten. The reigning MVP is a complicated fella, at least according to Packers CEO Mark Murphy, quoting the late Ted Thompson. But has this comment complicated an already complex situation in Green Bay? First in the draft, first on the depth chart, first to lead the Jags to a Super Bowl? Well, first, Trevor Lawrence needs to master the offense, and he's not wasting a second. Neither are we. NFL Total Access starts now. Welcome to NFL Total Access. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz. Don't poke the bear, Mark Murphy. James Jones is going to tell us why Aaron Rodgers isn't a complicated fella. Willie McGinnis is here, going to tell us what's going on in Foxborough. And that's where we start tonight. Patriots back on the practice field today for minicamp without their Pro Bowl cornerback. Stephon Gilmore is officially holding out. Arguably one of the best shutdown corners in the league, Gilmore is looking to get paid like one. Head coach Bill Belichick was sidestepping questions earlier today.
Is Stephon Gilmore one of those faces today?
Yeah, like I said, we're kind of scrambling to get things going this morning, so I didn't really get a chance to see everybody myself, so we'll see where we're at.
And just in general, you know, obviously we haven't seen him during the voluntary portion of the OTAs. Just how important is he to your back end and what he brings to the team?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of players we haven't seen in OTAs, and you know, it's all the players are important, and you know, like to have all of them.
Our roster all present today. Ian Rappaport, Mike Giardi, and Willie McGinnis with me now. What's up, guys? Now, Mike, you were at practice today. We heard you there asking questions. Tried to get Bill Belichick to talk about Gilmore. As he said, he talked around the topic, as he likes to do sometimes. Where do things stand with the team and Gilmore, Mike?
Well, this isn't a surprise to Bill Belichick. This isn't a surprise to anyone who's been following the situation, even dating back to last year. In fact, I remember doing a hit in August after the Patriots gave him a bump, moving money from this year into last year's deal, saying, we're probably going to be in the same place again next year. Gilmore playing at elite level, obviously in 2019 when he's the Defensive Player of the Year. And last year, after a slow start, got right back to where he was before the injury as he suffered that torn quad, which, as he's told me, he's doing just fine with now and has been running and all that. So the Patriots are in a situation where you spent all this money here during the offseason, where you've tried to upgrade your team in so many areas. But quite frankly, they're not the same team without Stephon Gilmore. He is the clear number one corner on their team, and he's clearly one of the number one corners in all of the National Football League. I think it behooves them to get a deal done here, whether that's a short one-year deal and a bump here or some sort of long-term extension, Ian. But this is a big deal for the Patriots. They need that guy in the lineup.
Yeah, they certainly do it. And Stephon Gilmore was once one of those guys they went out and paid, gave a huge contract to, one of the best free agent signings the Patriots have had in recent memory. But Mike, as you know, this is really a timing issue as much as anything. The Patriots have had some trade conversations over the course of the past year or so centered around Stephon Gilmore. Obviously, teams are interested. They've known he's coming up for a new contract. But the fact that he tore his quad toward the end of the season made trading him in March or April basically impossible. So now you get to where it's June and you try to figure out what are you going to do. The Patriots have very rarely given third deals to people not named Tom Brady. Gilmore is going to be 31 by the time the season starts, but he is a special player. Plus you have the uncertainty with J.C. Jackson on a one-year deal too. A lot of things for the Patriots to figure out at their cornerback position for this season.
I mean, Willie, this kind of situation is pretty on brand for the Patriots, isn't it?
Yeah, and Mike G, I'm a little disappointed. That's all you got out of Bill? That's all you can pull out of Bill. Shocker. You guys are right on point. I think he came in with a huge deal, and he's lived up to it. The expectations, a couple of All-Pros, Defensive Player of the Year, Pro Bowl the last 3 years out of the 4 years he's been there. He's definitely one of the best, if not the best corner. Some people would say Jalen Ramsey, and there's other guys that you can argue, but he's been at the top of the list since he's been a New England Patriot. Now, business as usual. They're not going to rush or make haste decisions and just pay a guy. They want to see where he is. They want to see if he's 100% healthy. And the Patriots have a history of moving on players before they fall off. just moving on. Players will go other way. They won't pay him. They'll trade him. They'll do whatever it takes. But in this case, I don't think him holding out or not being there is necessarily a bad thing, because they're probably having conversations and trying to figure things out. And since he's coming off an injury, you don't want to come in and get re-injured or something else happens. So this is how the Patriots do business. If they want to find Gilmore there, and you said it in, there've been some trade talks and all those things, but the injury kind of pushed those conversations back, then he'll be a Patriot. They'll work something out. If not, they'll figure something out on the other end as well. But he is valued as a New England Patriot. He has done a lot for this organization, and he's one of the most versatile guys that they have, which they love within that defense, that he can do so much and play so many positions, man, zone, lock down the number one receiver, whatever they need. So he does have value with the team, and he's shown that over the years.
I mean, Willie, you mentioned some of the accolades there for Gilmore. He's one of just 6 cornerbacks to ever win Defensive Player of the Year in a group with the likes of Deion Sanders, Charles Woodson. Pretty good company there. All right, Willie and Mike, hang tight. Ian Rappaport, we're going to see you in just a bit. All right, Cam Newton back at practice today after missing some time last week. Newton injured his throwing hand when he banged it on a helmet. All right, James Palmer coming into this conversation. Mike G, I'm going to start with you here, though. What did you see from the quarterbacks out there today?
Well, Newton missed much of last week, but then on Friday, which was a session we weren't allowed to see for OTAs, he was back throwing some passes, and then he led the group today. He was the first quarterback in for all the various drills. Mac Jones followed him as the second guy, and that is sort of a different order than it was in the previous week with Jared Stidham going 1, Brian Hoyer going 2, and then Mac Jones. And here's what I'll tell you. Cam Newton, very erratic today. And yeah, you can see the conditions. It was pretty nasty out there, but he had a hard time dealing with the ball. At one point, stepping off to the side and throwing again with a player on the side as he tried to get his grip, I guess you could say. But I counted 7 balls that weren't anywhere near receivers today. Balls that skipped off the ground, balls that sailed on him. Meanwhile, contrast that with Mac Jones, who seemed to deal with the conditions extremely well today. And I noticed a few little wrinkles with him today. He actually ran some 2-minute offense today, which is something we hadn't seen from him yet, and seemed to be very comfortable. The ball got out quickly, decisively, and it seemed to be going to the right places until the end of practice. He had a couple of little missteps with the ball late in practice in terms of slipping out of his hand. But overall, I thought Mac Jones had a heck of a day.
Yeah, and I kind of expect that if Cam has missed significant time, especially because of a hand injury, he's going to be a little rusty and need to get back into the swing of things. It's shorts, jerseys, and helmets. There's nobody winning the job right now, okay? Cam Newton is a starter. I don't think in this situation they want to rush Mac Jones. It's good that he is showing that he can produce and develop and get better and do some of the things that they expected him to do. That's why they drafted him in the first round. They know that he's capable of digesting the system and playing within the system, and he's that caliber of player. But to my knowledge, this is Cam Newton's team right now. Unless something dramatically happens or he's playing that bad or he gets injured, this is Cam's team. He is a starter, and I think they're going to go with him.
Willie, I love that you said that they're out there in shorts and T-shirts, because that's a big part of this evaluation right now. You look at Mac Jones, and everything I've gathered is they've put a lot on his plate. They've given him a ton of information. He's responded. He's picked it all up really quickly. He's delivering the football, as Mike said, accurately and on time. Those are all things we know about Mac Jones, right? That was part of the evaluation process, and I did a deep dive on him during the draft process, went to both of his pro days, talked to multiple teams that said he is the best processor of information in this draft, and it may not be close. He's also meticulous about how he goes about his business in preparation. He will study all night if he has to, every night till it's down pat. And then you look at the parts of his game that have some question marks. Teams told me, can he make plays when things break down? That happens in the NFL. Can he win you games, like a lot of first-round picks, when you may not have the opportunity to win that game, but he goes out there and pushes you over the hump? MJ, those things can't really be seen during OTAs, the things that he's not very good at. The things he's good at can be showcased during OTAs right now, but if he keeps stacking days, it would be interesting to follow.
It's always a good start as well. I know we always say pump the brakes, just relax, but good to see that there is definitely a progression there going towards the right foot. So we go from shorts and T-shirts and cleats to shorts, T-shirts, maybe flip-flops for Aaron Rodgers because they continue here with their standoff, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers there. He missed all of mandatory minicamp last week. And also last week, Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy talked about the troubled relationship between the team and their MVP quarterback.
Some of you may have realized we have a situation with our quarterback. I don't know if you've that's my attempt at humor. Sorry. So all I'll say is, in terms of Aaron Rodgers, obviously he's a tremendous talent, reigning MVP. And we've been working with Aaron for a number of months to resolve some of the concerns that he has. But we remain committed to having him as our quarterback for 2021 and beyond. I'm often reminded, though, we have Ted Thompson, I think most of you know, just a great general manager who passed away this past year, earlier this year. Often talked about Aaron, that he's and it wasn't just Aaron, a lot of different players, he would say, he's a complicated fella. So I'll just say that.
Well, we can't have an Aaron Rodgers chat without our favorite Packer, James Jones. James, is Aaron Rodgers a complicated guy?
Well, MJ, I heard you on the last segment say, pump your brakes, relax. Pump your brakes and just relax. Listen, I have a very good relationship with Mark Murphy. Mark Murphy has a very good relationship with all of his players. Listen, he still calls me to this day, checking on me, checking on my family. And that's what I'm going to say about Aaron. If you have a relationship with Aaron Rodgers, no, he's not a complicated fella. And that's with anything. You are talking about the future of a Hall of Fame quarterback's career. Yeah, it's going to be complicated. He wants some things, you want some things. So it's going to be complicated. But listening to Mark Murphy talk, I am not reading into it too much. I'm pumping my brakes, MJ. I am relaxing. Don't read too much into it. I know Mark personally. Mark loves all his players. And yes, this situation is complicated because you're dealing with a guy who wants certain things. You're dealing with an organization who wants some things. And you're trying to come together as one to get this thing fixed. So it's going to be a little complicated. I have a great relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Nothing has ever been complicated about me and Aaron Rodgers' relationship. So when you do have a relationship with him, MJ, no, it is not complicated. So get together, get a relationship with Aaron Rodgers like I have one, and get this thing together, get it fixed right now, ASAP, ASAP.
I mean, you're not complicated, JJ, but you are complex. Thank you, my friend. All right, let's bring in Ian Rappaport. Ian, some good news for Vikings and Danielle Hunter coming through today.
Some very good news for the Minnesota Vikings. This has been an ongoing issue for really more than a year for Danielle Hunter, ever since a couple years after he signed that 5-year, $72 million deal, then just felt he was underpaid. And obviously last year was out with a back injury, but made it known, according to people close to him, that he was not going to play without a reworking of his contract. Well, that issue was resolved after a very busy weekend. Was resolved today. Danielle Hunter now going to show up at mandatory minicamp. Here's why. He gets a reworked deal with the Minnesota Vikings. Now gets a $5.6 million signing bonus. Of course, already set to make more than $12 million this year. That's one thing. The big thing is this. They took money from the 5th year, moved it up to the 4th year. Now is an $18 million roster bonus the 5th day of the league year next year. What that means, the Vikings have a decision. Do they give him the roster bonus? Do they release him, let him get paid again as a free agent? Or do they rework the deal? Either way, win-win for all parties with the Danielle Hunter situation.
All right, good news for Danielle Hunter, but it was a good day for you, Ian Rappaport, yesterday. In case you missed it at home, Ratchie threw out the first pitch at the Mets game on Sunday. Let's take a look at this. By the way, his wife over there doing the catching for him. Ian, I mean, how cool was this?
It was honestly surreal. I've been a Mets fan for as long as I can remember, and I prepared. Look at that catch by my wife.
Perfect.
Oh, it's amazing. I prepared myself to be calm walking out, and then the crowd starts cheering, and I lost everything. My mind went blank. I'm just glad I reached the plate, and I'm glad that she caught it as the rock star that she is. But man, it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you that.
Oh, she's the real MVP. I mean, you guys pulled that off seamlessly, calm, cool, and collected. I mean, in true Rappaport style. All right, on NFL Total Access, it's Top 5 Tuesday. Ramsey, Gilmore, Howard. Who's the best cornerback in the NFL? D'Angelo Hall's breaking down his top 5. That's tomorrow, 7 Eastern. Now, it's one thing to be the number one pick. It's another to play like a number one pick. The Trevor Lawrence era is underway in Jacksonville, and Lawrence has one thing on his mind.
Yeah, I want to just master the offense. I want to have, complete control and know everything and be comfortable. I mean, you can't really play free and play really well if you don't know what you're doing. So that's the goal, is just to master the offense by the time training camp comes around. So in training camp, we really can focus everything forward on being the best team we can come August 14th and then going on into the regular season as well. So that's the plan. And it starts with the quarterback. Obviously, I have to be ready, and I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that is the case. So I'm excited to get started, and I think we've had a great past 3 weeks, and it's been really good work.
Time now for another installment of QB 21. So James Palmer, Willie, and JJ back here with me. Palmer, let's start with you. You heard Trevor say he wants to master that playbook. Everything else will just fall into place. But you've been covering the Jags. How is Trevor Lawrence getting himself ready for training camp?
MJ, I like the way you laid it out. It seems so easy, right? Everything's just going to fall into place once he knows the playbook, right? Well, he's not getting all the reps right now that he would like. He had a slight hamstring issue, not a major thing, but they want to make sure he's 100% by the time training camp rolls around. You heard him talking about the playbook. From people I've spoken to, they think he has a really good grasp of it because he did get a jump start compared to other rookie quarterbacks. They started going over this playbook before he was even drafted because everybody knew he was landing there #1 overall. But what Urban Meyer wants is when training camp comes around, the competitive periods, right? That's what Urban Meyer loves, periods where there's winners and losers, where they have some concerns about, Trevor Lawrence trying to sneak that ball into tight windows. He wants full-speed defenders going at it so he has a better feel in those type of reps. And he told me today, Urban Meyer said, the reason they went 1-15 was not bad players, was not bad coaches. They were not the best versions of themselves, MJ. They were not the biggest, fastest, smartest, strongest they could be. That's what he wants come training camp. Trevor Lawrence is a big part of that. They want him winning those periods, and he has won over some guys on the other side of the ball. Shaq Griffin said today, it has been insane what he's been able to do early on and what he's been able to do in the short sample size they've seen, rolling out, letting plays develop, let receivers, JJ, get open, let them find their way. That's impressed some guys out there in this short sample size because it's not just him, it's everybody meshing with him on that side of the ball.
All right, so JJ, what's a successful season look like for the Jags with a rookie QB and a first-time NFL head coach?
Well, for me, I mean, I know it's 17 games now, so they can't be 500. But for me, if they can win 8 games and walk out of this season and say we played the right football, we played the style of football that we wanted to play, we were in a lot of tough games, lost a lot of close games, and we found a way to win 8 games. And then on the other side of that, how did our #1 pick play? Did our #1 pick get better and better and better each week? Because that's what it's all about, the #1 pick getting better. Because now when we come into the next season, we build around him, we put some defensive pieces around, and now we go compete and try to get into these playoffs. So that's what I want to see. I was able to play with a rookie in Derek Carr with the Oakland Raiders when he came in. And yes, he got the offense like that. And we had a veteran quarterback in Matt Schaub, and all you heard was Matt Schaub's the guy, Matt Schaub's the guy. And Derek Carr was picking up this offense. You got out there with Derek Carr, like James said, in these competitive periods. He was picking up the right blitzes. The ball was coming out of his hands extremely fast, which receivers love. And next thing you know, Derek Carr's running out there first as a starting quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. And he improved each day, each week. So that's what I want to see from these Jacksonville Jaguars this season.
Yeah, JJ, and Derek was flinging that thing. I think it's going to be the opposite with Trevor Lawrence under Urban Meyer and Darrell Bevell. When you look at the history of where they come from, it's going to be run. They're going to run the football. They're going to take a lot of the pressure off the young quarterback. Darrell Bevell was with Russell Wilson in Seattle. He only averaged 25 throws a game when he started as the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. And they won a Super Bowl that way, just to refresh your memory. Now, when you look at the things that they can do, move in the pocket, boots, like the sprint plays and all that, he's perfect for that because he is a runner. He can get out of the pocket, but they'll make it easier for him to start. They're not going to put a lot of pressure on him. Okay, look at his schedule. His schedule's not easy. The first 4 games, the first quarter of the season, pretty easy. Look at the second quarter, starting with that. The Titans, Dolphins, Seahawks, Bills, Colts, 49ers, Falcons, Rams, and Titans again. That's the meat of the schedule right there. That's when it's going to get tough. So you want to get him acclimated to the system. You want to get some type of identity with this offense and figure it out with him. You want to give him high percentage throws. Don't let him take a lot of big chances. He doesn't need to throw the ball down the field 40, 45 times, and just have a well-oiled machine on offense and have balance and take some of the onus off of him so he doesn't have to struggle like most young quarterbacks do within the offense.
Willie Mack, you got to be up in them ball games to run that football like that, too. You can't be down in them ball games.
Slow it down, JJ.
50 times.
Slow the game down, though. Don't start off throwing. Just slow it down.
I'm with you.
I will say this. We had Trevor Lawrence right here on the show a couple of weeks back, and what I got from him was nothing seemed too big for him, right? He knows what the expectations are, but he's taking it real low-key, just taking it one day at a time, absorbing everything he can. So at least he's got the right mindset, the skill set, certainly, and the work ethic. Now go forth and be great, Trevor Lawrence. We're expecting that from here. All right, for you at home, we want to see what you think. So head on over to NFL Total Access on our Instagram story and let us know how many wins you think the Jags will get in 2021. We'll have your results a little later in the show. Now, if you're looking to keep Patrick Mahomes from his 3rd straight AFC title, yeah, you've got your work cut out for you. And man, have these teams been working to do just that. After the break, who's got the best chance to challenge the Chiefs' dominance? To caught up on the latest headlines. No response from Aaron Rodgers to comments that he's a, quote, complicated fella. Last Thursday, Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy talked about the troubled relationship between Rodgers and the team. Murphy quoted former Packers general manager Ted Thompson on Rodgers being, quote, a complicated fella. He also said he considers Rodgers to be the Packers quarterback this season and beyond. The Patriots back on the practice field today for minicamp without their Pro Bowl cornerback. Stephon Gilmore is officially holding out. Arguably one of the best shutdown corners in the league, Gilmore is looking to get paid like one. The Chiefs also back on the field and getting ready to make another run as AFC champs. Not an easy out in the playoffs, but there are a handful of teams who have the playmakers to make it happen. Mike Garafolo, Mike Giardi, Willie McGinnis, and Cynthia Freeland. Why don't you guys take it away?
Back here on Total Access Overtime with my friends here, and we are about to chop up yet another topic, and this one is the AFC and specifically the Chiefs, a 2-time defending AFC champion, looking to make it 3. Who is going to be the biggest challenge to them? So I'm going to start with Cynthia Freeland because this is going to be a popular one in a certain region of the country. Cynthia.
Well, Bills Mafia, I hope you're listening up because he's talking to you. We're talking to you. It's really the Bills. Look what happened last season. In their matchups, you saw a lot of defensive chess playing. Should we blitz Patrick Mahomes? Should we not blitz Patrick Mahomes? Should we adjust at halftime? Should we not adjust at halftime? You saw a chess match going on between Leslie Frazier specifically and also everything that was going on with that Chiefs offense. So it didn't turn out in the Bills' favor last year, but this year, the balance that the Bills have on offense and getting better on defense, they are going to be a big problem, especially considering the Chiefs didn't get a chance to address their defense as deeply or as well as the Bills did. So I'm making the case for Bills Mafia. I'm jumping on a table. It's clearly, something I do very often. I'm very good at jumping on tables. But ultimately, it's the Bills that are going to give the Chiefs the biggest run for their money.
I like that.
Cynthia, I'm not going to throw you through that table like they do before Bills games, but I'm going to tell you this. I love what they did this offseason. Everybody's talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers bringing all their guys back. Yeah, that was amazing. But the Buffalo Bills weren't sure they could bring Matt Milano back. They weren't sure they could bring Darrell Williams back. They weren't sure they could replace someone like John Brown with someone like Emmanuel Sanders. Yet they did all of that. They brought back the core of their offensive line. I think Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott had a phenomenal offseason. And then they looked at their defense, which you mentioned. How do you get to Patrick Mahomes? You got to have pass rush. You got to get to him with 4. So they draft Greg Rousseau out of Miami in the first round, Boogie Basham in the second round. Boogie Basham already shining in OTAs. I know it's shorts, but that's something that you have to say. They're going after him. I like what they've done this offseason.
It's been a gradual progression for the Bills. Make the playoffs, go deeper into the playoffs. They went as deep as they possibly could without actually making the Super Bowl. So time to take that next step. Willie, I want to go to you on this one because we're looking at the AFC North, and there are a couple of contenders there. I mean, I can make the case for at least 3 contenders in the AFC North, probably max it out there. You wouldn't say the Bengals. So you tell me who's coming out of that division to potentially challenge Kansas City.
Well, Mike G, I agree. I think it's a 2-team race, okay? It's the Browns and the Ravens. And if I had to pick one, I'm going with the Ravens. And when you look at what the Ravens did last year in making the playoffs, had a slow start. The passing game was a little bit slow. No Mark Andrews. They needed help on the outside. The running game was in place. And Lamar, we just didn't see the production from the passing game that we thought we would see from last year to this year. So, after in the offseason, going out and drafting Rashad Bateman, a big-time receiver that can help in the passing game, that can do everything, that will go along with Marquise Brown. Bringing over Sammy Watkins, another explosive player on the outside, and also drafting a guy who nobody really talked about, the Tylan Wallace, the kid out of Oklahoma State. There is no question that they did everything in their power to put more explosive skill set and weapons around Lamar Jackson to go out and elevate the passing game. Now, we know they were the best team in rushing the football, and we know when you include Lamar Jackson and running the ball and what they do offensively, and yeah, some teams probably figured out what they were doing because they lost a lot of production when guys got injured. This year is going to be different. They're going to open it up in the passing game. They're going to continue to control the trenches and run the football, and their defense did get better. If they can keep everybody healthy, they got 3 guys on the back end that can cover and go toe-to-toe with guys like the Chiefs that have multiple receivers on the outside, and they can generate pass rush now. So when you look at a balanced team, a team that has everything that elevated and everything they were doing in the offseason, it's got to be the Ravens coming out of that division.
One of the interesting notes out of Baltimore this spring, they want to get Jackson under center a lot more, out of that pistol formation a little bit more whenever they can. You know, give the defenses more to think about, like Willie talked about. Open up that offense a little bit more. Speaking of opening up offenses, the Tennessee Titans hoping that they will do that with Julio Jones via that trade. Mike Giardi, you spend a lot of time covering the Titans. Tell me your thoughts on what the Jones addition does as far as their ability to compete with Kansas City and the rest of the AFC.
Well, Ryan Tannehill redid his contract, right, to bring on Julio Jones, and that makes all the sense in the world if you're Ryan Tannehill, because you had A.J. Brown, and then what else did you have? You lost Corey Davis. You lost Jonnu Smith. They were talking about Nick Westbrook-Ikhine as potentially the starter opposite Brown. Do you know who he is? I know Rhett Lewis knows who he is because he's an IU guy, but that's the point here. They just upgraded dramatically, and now on Tuesdays when opposing teams have to game plan for them for the coming week, they have to game plan not just for Brown, but for Julio Jones. That makes that offense so much more explosive. Pick your poison with them. They are a legit offensive football team.
When you talk about Julio Jones, you have to talk about his off-ball metric, meaning with the space he creates for everyone else. And that means Derrick Henry, which is the run game situation, which is awesome for them because then they can control the clock. The thing that's interesting and I like about the Titans is their division is not top to bottom really, really strong. So it kind of comes down to them or the Colts for who wins. And remember, in this season, with a longer season, you're going to want to have that advantage of at least a home field advantage for one playoff game. So that could come down to being a really big deal, staying home, getting a little more comfortable, maybe getting a little bit more rest come the end of the season.
And Cynthia, I think you said something really interesting. Now, the play action, okay, is usually set up by the running game. Now that you have those 2 weapons with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones on the outside, you can attack pass first, which can open up the running game. So now you got to respect the guys on the outside. And I know they lost Corey Davis, but he's not Julio Jones. And Jonnu Smith may hurt a little bit with the short to intermediate, but they'll figure those things out. This team now, offensively, and listen to what I'm saying, offensively is one of the most dominant teams in the league.
I love that you said offensively because defensively, Willie, they were a train wreck last year. I got to tell you, they turned over 3/4 of their secondary. They added Bud Dupree because their pass rush was anemic, Denitro Autry as well. And this is a situation, I think Shane Bowen, who's now the DC this year in title, as he was last year, but without the title, and Mike Vrabel, there's some pressure on them because the offense should be there, right? They should be able to be a team that is one of the most feared in football. But can the defense hold their own? They didn't enough last year, and it's why they kind of flatlined.
All right, before we get out of here, because I know there's a lot of folks up there in Massachusetts and the surrounding areas saying, what are we doing? We're like 6, 7 minutes in, and nobody's mentioned the Patriots here. We're getting there, okay? And I'm not going to leave when I have Mr. Patriot here, Willie McGinnis, and Giardi. You spend a lot of time around the Patriots. I can't leave without getting both of your takes about the Patriots reloading this offseason. I mean, the first couple days of free agency were a frenzy. We call it free agency frenzy at NFL Network. It was a frenzy for the Patriots. Can the light switch be flipped? And who starts at quarterback will certainly be a big part of that, Willie. I understand that. But can the light switch be flipped and this team comes back into being a contender for the Chiefs and everybody else to worry about?
Mike G, all the lights are on in the house right now. When you see they spent the most money in the offseason, and they're not going to sit around and listen to how dominant the Bills were, and now the Bills run the AFC East and all those different things. So I would say the caliber of players they brought in and what they did in the draft shows that they are serious about being back on track and getting back in the playoffs and being a contender, not only for the playoffs, but for winning championships, because that's where the bar is in New England.
That is where the bar is, but then can they get the quarterback play that can help them get there? And look, Cam Newton wasn't good enough last year, and that is clear. And Mac Jones, in investing a first-round pick, you're saying essentially, yeah, that we want this guy to be our quarterback of the future, but can the quarterback of the future become the quarterback of the present? Newton dealing with a hand injury already here in OTAs, and Mac Jones, according to all people, has really absorbed the playbook very well, so it'll be interesting to watch when we get to training camp.
All right, look, we don't root, as reporters and analysts, we don't root for anybody. We don't, we're more objective. But it is more fun when the Patriots are good. And then you've got that team that everybody else is trying to dethrone. So let's see if New England can get themselves back into the conversation with the Chiefs for the favorites in the AFC. Thank you, all three of you. This was a